Welcome to the Sanity Project podcast, the place for internet technology professionals whose work-life balance plan has imploded. We are here to provide solutions that will help the IT pro live a sane, healthy, and prosperous life. Here's your host, Joanne Victoria.
Hi, this is Joanne Victoria, and I am looking forward to the show today. We are very lucky to have Clint Fuqua. Clint Fuqua is an accomplished certified health coach and personal trainer with over 2 decades of experience, including specialized training in the areas of corporate wellness, sports nutrition, and exercise biomechanics. Clint has created programs for athletes, small businesses, and many people, including you IT pros, just wanting to improve their health so they can live a long and quality-filled life. Clint hosts the nationally syndicated, quote, personal healthcare reform, unquote, talk show, and published a book series by the same name while writing for multiple publications to help everyone learn the best ways to get and stay independently healthy for life. And the title of the talk show will be in the show notes, so in case I skipped a vowel, don't go running around. It'll be there. So let's welcome to our show today, Clint Fuqua. Welcome, Clint.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
I'm glad you're here. When I was searching for guests and then you popped up and said, I'd love to be a guest, it was like, this is the perfect guest for our audience because you're talking about health and health. I have that second, stress number 1 and health number 2. And healthcare is, to me, it's a huge deal. I don't think people give it enough attention in their lives. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's actually, interestingly enough, the health and medical industries, we've actually both done a major disservice to everybody. And I know this because I've been in it for 25 years, as you stated before. And I've been on a lot of different sides of this thing. So I've been an executive and formulator for a nutritional product company. So I've actually been back in the warehouse doing all that stuff, doing all the manufacturing, so putting together products that are being sold on the market. I've done corporate wellness. Literally, I've done corporate wellness where I walk in and talk to like 200 people in the audience that are bored out of their minds that don't want to be there, which is always fun. Munching on donuts and coffee while you're standing up there talking to them about health. And on the other side is putting together stuff for athletes. So I actually put together an entire program for a basketball training academy here in Dallas, and that was for like 5th grade all the way through 12th grade and into college and semi-pro level. So yeah, from being on all those different sides, I've trained trainers as well at Cooper Institute for several years. Seeing the information that we put out and how it's presented from both us and the medical industry, because I was going medical first. I was actually pre-med for a while. We've actually done a very, very bad job of helping people get healthy because of the way information is formatted, the way it's put out there. It's the biggest loser syndrome, where people see it as a game show and it's supposed to be it's supposed to be a beating. You're supposed to have this weird, nutty person yelling at you about what you're supposed to be doing and handcuffing you to equipment and, taking all the stuff away from you and making life miserable. When that's when everybody sees, it's not fun and nobody really wants to do it. They know they need to do it, but they don't want to do it unless they get dragged into it, and then they get beat down, and that's an issue. So yeah, it's there is that piece, and the medical side is just as bad with all the poking and prodding, and once again, everything is brought to you as a need to. And
everything appears to me, at least, to be very aggressive. When you're talking about the, Biggest Loser, it's like embarrassing to watch. I don't think I've watched since season 1. I don't think it's on anymore because they've been sort of found out, quote unquote, about giving drugs to their people.
Yeah, well, they've had issues off screen for many years. I did watch the last season. Mostly because I know one of the trainers that was in it.
Oh, good.
That was there. So Jenna Lindstrom is awesome. She's phenomenal. I love that woman. Some of the other trainers I've not been a big fan of just because of how they approach everything. I will say this last season is probably one of their best because they focused on the mental aspect of it, and they weren't beating people up. That was the biggest thing that I noticed. They weren't beating people up. There's a lot of education, a lot of the mental prep on it, as opposed to some of the years past where, they were doing, putting people in drugs and everything else. And most people don't realize they actually have a crash cart sitting just off the stage or behind the cameras just in case something happens. Because of how hard they used to push everybody. And it was a major risk. So, they've been found out that, a lot of them in the first 6 seasons gained a lot of their weight back, or they've had knee and hip and spine surgeries from injuries sustained from the show and everything else. So, and those are all major issues because of how they went about doing everything back then. They've got it progressively better. The only problem is they've been losing ratings the past several years. And I think last year was like the lowest ratings they've ever had in the history of the show. So I think they've decided to kill it because it's gone through its up cycle and down cycle. I didn't watch it for years because I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand the game show format of it and everything else. And if it wouldn't have been for that trainer that I know on there, I wouldn't have even watched this last season.
Right.
It was well done.
And the medical industry, my experience of it is many moons ago in one of my lives, I consulted to alternative healthcare practices. I put them together. I put an MD with a DO with all of the various spectrums. And I really liked that. It was a healthier approach, but still it was not the good part was they provided supplements to their patients, which I think is vital. I know I take many supplements, and I know that they've kept me, fresh, whatever that means. And I find that I really can't live without them. That's the macro view anyway. But it's the general Western model really sucks. They don't really care they don't want you if you want to be healthy, because if you're healthy, you won't buy them. You're not
that's probably it. Probably there's been a lot of misuse of the system. Some of it is inherent in the system and how it's put together. And the pharmaceutical industry has a big piece of that to own as far as the misuse of it and how it's done now. Most doctors I know really would love to improve the health of their patients. They just can't right now because of everything that's going on in the medical industry, the fact that they only get 10 minutes with a patient because if they spend any more time than that, they can't pay their bills. Because of everything that goes into running a medical office now, which is ridiculous. And all the alternative practitioners, they're beat up right now because major medical, beats them up.
Right.
Anytime something happens in the alternative market, major medical comes out and says, it's a sham, it's horrible, it doesn't work, et cetera, because they're not making any money off of it.
Right. Well, I found out recently that the acupuncturists, I come from California, and I've been in the Washington area for 10 years. And in California, in the Bay Area where I'm from, everything goes, all sorts of alternative opportunities to get healthy, so to speak. And just recently, they're trying to disenfranchise Chinese studied acupuncturists. In a way that my mouth just fell open. And I had to go to the doctor recently, and it's a clinic of sorts, and I saw that she was a DO. Well, you probably know it's a doctor of osteopathy. And I said, what are you doing here? It's like, why are you here? I mean, to me, an osteopath, I like the whole body approach. And she said the government, whoever is behind this one, is making it very difficult for DOs to work anywhere at all, if at all, unless they subscribe to the MD model, which requires them to put out hundreds of thousands of dollars for a computer so that they can have internet, whatever it is. They need to have all of their files computerized, which DOs really never had to do because of the way they operate.
You've got that. You have some restrictions, limitations, and things imposed on you about having to actually write prescriptions for medications. This is why I got out of the medical industry and why I ultimately didn't go into it, because I was going to be a DO originally. So the original track, I saw what was coming with the ACA and everything else that was about to happen. And so I jumped out.
I think it was a smart move because you can't be controlled by an outside source that you can't even put a face to.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can put a lot of faces to it, but
yeah.
I know who those faces are, which is why I got out. So yeah, it's there was that thing, and I hate being told what to do and how to take care of my people. So I do that, as a trainer and health coach now, because I don't have those limitations imposed on me. I do have some, but not that many. And since I essentially prescribe nutritional supplements, and I can actually do that, because one of my certifications, most people can't, and that is an issue in the industry. And a lot of people should not, which is another issue. But,
right.
But yeah, that's one reason why I jumped out, is because of all the stuff that came around, and that's another issue with the medical system and people not being able to get healthy now because of all the rules and regulations and stipulations, and it's based around managing diseases. It's disease management. It's not getting rid of things, it's managing them. So you can manage them until the day somebody dies. If you get rid of them, it's gone. And, that takes money out of the hands of pharmaceuticals and a lot of other people, and as opposed to just getting rid of stuff and then going to the doctor to get healthier, which they can make a tremendous amount on. But, it's the model is what it is right now. It'll take another decade or so to start kind of working out of that.
Well, I don't know what's worse, the medical community or Wall Street. So they both wreak havoc on individuals who are not fully informed. And I know that one of the things that you are propose and is, to me, I call it responsibility. You're calling taking ownership for their own health and, putting prescriptions aside, because I don't want to get involved in anybody else's disease. They have enough to do. They can watch all of the commercials on television in their particular niche and see all the stuff that's out there, which is frightening to say the least. But how can somebody take ownership in their own health for their own good? Well, the big thing is, one, they have to take ownership of themselves. Which means owning whatever you have as far as, weight that you need to lose, and whatever issues are going on, and knowing what those are, learning about them, because knowledge is power. And even more so than having knowledge is making use of that, which honestly, with all the information that there is out there, there's been a lot of information, a lot of disinformation, and the disinformation is what keeps people from moving forward. And taking ownership of stuff because it's too confusing, it's too complex. I should just let this person handle it because there's too much going on. No, health is incredibly simple. We've made it incredibly complex. We've made it look incredibly complex because we use these huge words with huge definitions to confuse people and make it look like something that it's not. When really it's all about eating very well, moving around like you're supposed to, getting some good sleep, reducing your stress, and then you're healthy. Essentially is what happens. The big question is, what is eating healthy? What is moving well? What is a good night's sleep? How do I reduce stress when I've got all this stuff going on in my life? Because, let's face it, we have a lot of stuff going on in our lives. A lot of it's self-imposed because, we're in the tech era and there's an influx of everything coming at you 24/7. So you have to unplug from that on occasion. That's why we have vacations. So take your vacation time. Use it for vacation. That's the big thing. So a lot of people just hand it over to the doctor or nurse or somebody else to handle because they're confused by it. They don't want to deal with it. And a lot of it's just coming down to they just don't want to deal with it because they got everything else to deal with. If you deal with your health and you take care of it and you own it, nobody else can control it. Nobody else can control that piece of your life, which is a huge part of your life. If you haven't looked at medical bills, it can wreck a person. In fact, it puts more people out of business than anything else in business. In fact, it's 75% of businesses that go under because of healthcare costs, or actually sickness costs. But and those all had insurance as well. So you have those issues. So it is a taking ownership thing. It's a learning about what's going on with you and learning the best ways to handle those. And a lot of that means
stepping away from your doctor at times that honestly does not have time to talk to you and won't for a while until things are changed in the medical community. Going out, finding a health coach, finding somebody that can sit down with you for an hour or two and start lining things out that is knowledgeable about what's going on in your life, disease status and all that stuff. So there are people that specialize in different areas. Sitting down with them, putting together a plan, a very simple, easy to achieve plan instead of you need the big goal at the end, a couple years out, but the day-to-day stuff has to be very, very simple. Like I've got a thing that starts in January called the 1% Project, and it's based around 1% of your day and taking 15 minutes of your day to sit down and own something about yourself for improvement. Okay, so this way it's 15 minutes is easy. What's easy to do and it's easy to not do, and that's the problem. It's easy to not do, which is why a lot of people don't move forward with stuff because it's just like, well, it's just 15 minutes. I'll make it up tomorrow.
Right, and then of course that never happens.
So yeah, it's dedicating yourself to that and having that as either your first 15 minutes of the day or the last 15 minutes of the day, because that should be yours. That should be your time. Specifically, and expanding on that as you get better and better, and you gain more ownership of it until you own your entire day, which can take a year or two. But it's a process of doing that. And once you own that, then you can do with it what you will. It's easier to get healthy at that point because now you own it, you control it, you manage it. You're not handing it off to somebody else to do it. And for control freaks, that's fantastic. For people that aren't control freaks, it's not so fantastic because they actually have to take ownership of something, which is very scary at times. Because if you own it, that means if you make a mistake, then it's your fault and all that stuff. And that's why you hire out to other experts to help you create a plan and keep you honest on it. But you still own it. It's like owning your car. You're not going to work. You won't do all the work on your car, but it's your car. You still make sure that the tires are aired up and
I think people pay more attention to their cars than they do their bodies.
Yeah. Well, because if most people lease their cars now, and if you can't turn back a leased car if it's trashed out.
That's one way. Well, I think one of the issues is that people won't take the time, at least your 1% project, because to me that, and I'm going to do that, at least follow that, is because they don't value themselves enough, that they contribute enough in this world to take care of themselves. They don't even know that they're worth it.
Oh yeah. There's a self-value thing, self-respect, self-love thing that goes on. There's been tons of negativity in the past couple of years, past couple of decades actually. It's
gotten worse, especially since 2006. Yes.
Yeah, there's been a lot of self-deprivation and everything else, and people hating them, trying to find a reason to hate themselves, honestly, and to not like themselves, which is the wrong way to go about it. Or we have people that when I was growing up, everybody's trying to focus on their weaknesses and build, try to take care of their weaknesses and everything else. Strengthening your weaknesses is the worst thing in the world you can possibly try to do.
Yep.
Find your strengths and build those up. All your weaknesses will come up with them. And this way you can find things that you like about yourself, that you love about yourself, that you can respect yourself for, and build on that. Once your self-respect gets up and your self-love increases, one really big thing happens. You start doing better things for yourself in your life and for your body, because if you have a lot of respect for yourself and a lot of love for yourself, you can't put a poison in your body at that point. You just can't do it, because if you put that thing in your body, it's going to break you down. It's going to harm you. You can't harm yourself if you love yourself.
It's interesting that recently on Netflix I watched this show called Grace and Frankie. It was Jane Fonda and, God forbid, I can't remember her name. Anyway, the Frankie character is hippie-ish. That's her label. And one of the things that she is angry about is that her product that she has made from natural, a vegetable, they've added palm oil to it in order to increase the shelf life. So since I've seen that and heard that, I read the labels. And everything now that has palm oil in it, I have to put it back on the shelf. I don't know, what's right or wrong about it, but it's just entrenched in my mind, and it seemed important enough to...
Yeah, well, actually, it's not so much the palm oil itself, because palm oil by itself is awesome stuff. It's fraction palm oil, which is absolute trash. So what they do is they take palm oil and they add some extra hydrogens to it. It's a trans fat at that point,
right?
And it is very bad for your body. Palm oil by itself is awesome for your body. It's a very healthy thing. But fraction palm oil is trash, and that's what you see in a lot of products, and it's
right.
one of the trans fats they've been taking out of products, but it's still there in small amounts because it does help out the shelf life, because it doesn't spoil, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I feel her pain on that.
Well, I'm grateful that I've never liked milk. I don't know why. It's just never appealed to me, and I go back decades on that. And then again, I read somewhere, it's milk, and then it's cheese, and then it's butter. So cheese, I'm not good with any kind of dairy, but I was using butter, and of course I stopped that. And now I'm into, and whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, I'll have to change if you tell me it's bad, coconut oil.
Oh yeah, go for it. Go for the coconut oil. And actually milk, funny thing about milk is only as good as the cow it comes from. Okay? So raw milk, fresh squeezed, is awesome. You can't beat fresh squeezed raw milk. Straight from the cow. If they're grass fed, they don't have hormones used on them.
Sure.
They're not eating all the animal feed and all that stuff. That is a superfood. In fact, you'd be lucky if you ever find anybody that's actually allergic to it.
Okay.
Because what happens with milk, and I could go on a whole 1 hour rant on this whole thing. After it comes out of the cow,
take a couple minutes.
After you squeeze it, it comes out of the cow. Once it goes to all the processing, the homogenization, the pasteurization, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and they do all that, just to get an extra, 5 days of shelf life on it. Okay, it's destroyed. Literally, it's white death. There's nothing in there for you to take in from a nutrient standpoint. You got the protein and everything else in there, but the rest of it's just destroyed. After it goes all the processing, it gets on the shelf. If you first squeeze it and you put it in a bottle and then you just put it on the shelf, that's a superfood. There are so many great nutrients in that. Same thing for the butter that comes out of that. Same thing for the cheese that comes out of it, etc. It's great stuff. And goat's milk is even better. But yeah, the normal stuff that's in the plastic container on the shelf is trash.
Yeah, it just appalls me to see. I have to put blinders on when I go grocery shopping as to what other people are buying, and just I see all this processed food in their carts, and I want to go, do you know what this is doing to you? I have some of it, but not the way most people eat.
Yeah,
so
some of it, some people don't know, some people don't care.
Yeah, I think more people don't know, and then the ones that do know don't care. But, let's look at what can an IT worker, an internet technology pro do today at work, for example. How can does eating help? Eating right?
For IT workers are working.
Pardon?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We had a little misconnection there.
Okay.
We're back. So yeah, IT workers, you're at work, you're sitting there, you're on your butt for 10 hours. It's horrible. And I actually do corporate wellness now for the health club I'm with. So, and I too, Mr. Health and Fitness here, I actually sit on my butt for 10 hours a day at times because I'm sitting on the computer working on stuff as well. The best thing you can do is get up and move around. Have some breathing breaks instead of smoke breaks. Smokers in the office are actually some of the healthiest people because they actually get up and they take smoke breaks, which means they're up, they're walking around, they're breathing deeply for a little while. But their breathing is not all that great, but at least they're breathing deeply. They get more oxygen flow through the system. The rest of the office needs to kind of do that as well. That's why you got all the OSHA regulations, and people are supposed to have a 15-minute break every 3 hours or 2 hours, whatever it is now. This way you get up and you move around. You go up and down some steps. Get your body moving this way because you're made to move. You're not made to sit. The only time we were supposed to sit is back when we were hunting around and hunting for caribou and deer and bears and elks and everything else. And we'd sit down for a little bit and wait for something to show up. And then we chase it. So
right.
Now we sit down and we're chasing a mouse around on the desk with your hand. Okay. That's about the most chasing anybody does anymore than hunting down some files in a computer. But the biggest things you can do is get up, move around throughout the day. If you've got a little tracker device, I will say I like Garmin. If you're going to get a wellness tracker, they will remind you to get up and move. Okay, the good ones will. This way, they start beeping at you, they buzz at you, and you get up and move around for a little while, and then it calms down and says, okay, you can go back to doing your work now. The other thing that happens is if you're sitting there for a long time, you get stagnant. Your brain doesn't work as well. So if you'll get up, you'll go walk around, you do a quick little 15-minute power walk, you're going to get more stuff done that next 90 minutes than you will for the next 4 hours if you're just sitting there. So if you want to get in, get your stuff done, have great quality work, get up, move around, and then do your work. And set it for, seriously, 90 minutes, and then get back up and move around again. This way you're always up and down, you get a lot more done, you stay a lot more focused on what you're doing, and also stay hydrated, because 75% of the people in the U.S. are dehydrated. That means having water throughout the day. 1 liter per 100 pounds of body weight is the bare minimum for anybody, essentially. So that means if you're up moving around, you got to have more than that. But stay hydrated. That way everything moves a lot more efficiently, a lot better in your body. It's going to take care of blood pressure issues. It's going to take care of all kinds of issues because you're 75% water anyway. You might as well have that replaced on a daily basis as needed. And those are the biggies. That and a good night of sleep. Sleep is highly, highly, highly underrated by people, and it's one of the healthiest things you'll ever do for yourself because if you sleep well, your stress levels plummet. Your ability to do things the next day is enhanced because you're repairing at night. Okay, you've got all your mechanics doing all the repair work on you at night. If you don't do it, it's like if anybody watches racing, you watch NASCAR.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, imagine a mechanic out there trying to work on one of the cars while it's going around the track. Okay, that's what happens when you don't sleep.
Now I've got the visual. Work. Scary. Yeah.
You got your mechanics on the car trying to do work while you're going around that track. Okay, it doesn't work for the car. It doesn't work for the mechanics at all. And so that's why you sleep. You go to sleep, your body gets repaired. You wake up the next day. You're going to eat less calories after that. You're going to actually have better food choices because for every hour of sleep you miss, your need for calories goes up by about 10%.
I can attest to that.
Yeah, which means you go out looking for higher calorie stuff to eat. Intentionally, you go looking for higher calorie stuff to eat because you need more calories just to keep moving. So yeah, that's a biggie. Most people don't even realize that. Same thing with hydration.
I think you should repeat that. Repeat that again.
So
the less sleep you get,
the less sleep you eat, the more food you're going to eat. Okay, the less sleep you have, the more food you're going to go looking for, and the high calorie trash stuff. Okay?
Yeah, and you go for the bad stuff. I know that. This past month has been very stressful, very little sleep, and I've been going for the trash, and it's embarrassing. But, hey, I don't keep many secrets. Well, this has been great. You have given our listeners super information, and if they don't, you've got your 1% project strategy, which I think is awesome, and people should go on your website at Clint Fuqua, Clint, CLINT, Fuqua, FUQUA.com. And Clint's Twitter name is CBFit, F-I-T, CBFIT. So it's the 1% project. It's 15-minute power walk. Set your clock for 90 minutes to see what kind of work you put out. Get up again and do another power walk. Drink water all day long, and try to get a good night's sleep. This is it. And if you're near Dallas, get in touch with Clint because he can help you personally. He will also provide you with a free gift, and our free gift is, where did it go, Joanne? a free health assessment with lifestyle and nutrient recommendations. It's a $300 value, and it is on Clint's website. Just go to it, click the thing that says, whatever the graphic is that says free health assessment, and you're off to the races. I thank you, Clint Fuqua, for being here today, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Sanity Project podcast. Please go to AskJoanneVictoria.com and continue the conversation on her podcast page. And get a free copy of her book, The True Self Handbook, a guide to transform your life. That's AskJoanneVictoria.com. Take care, and thanks for being here.